Coffee Break Spanish, Lesson 42.
Buenos dias, how you do? We got something for you. A bit of Spanish you can try. It's not hard, now don't you cry. Más cerveza, por favor. Un cafecito, I want more. No haggis here, I hope that's fine. Just a bit of Espanol online. Espanol, you're in control. Just be resilient. One in Spanish is dead brilliant. Just be prepared. Mark and Kara will take you there. Now you're on a roll. It's Coffee Break Español.
Buenos días a todos.
You're listening to Coffee Break Spanish, the show which brings you language learning with your latte.
Yo soy Mark.
Y yo soy Cara.
Cara, ¿estás bien?
No, estoy enferma.
Oh, pobrecita. Espero que te mejores pronto. I hope you get better soon.
Gracias.
Okay, here's a challenge straight away for our listeners today. I'm going to explain what we're doing in this week's show in Spanish.
Okay, go for it.
Esta semana, en la lección número 42, vamos a hablar un poco más del fin de semana.
Okay, so el fin de semana is the weekend?
That's right, and we're going to hablar, to speak, a little more about the weekend, learning a bit more about the present tense.
Vale, shall we get started then?
Sí, vamos a empezar. ¿Estás lista, Cara?
Sí, Mark, estoy lista para aprender español con Coffee Break Spanish.
Coffee Break Español.
So we're going to begin by looking at what we did last time. Last week we were looking at verb conjugations, looking at all the different parts of a verb and being able to say I work, you work, he works, she works, and so on. Today we're going to build on this and look at some other verbs, some of which follow the same patterns and others which follow slightly different patterns. Let's begin by running through trabajar again. Trabajar meaning, Cara?
To work.
To work, indeed. So, I work is?
Trabajo.
Trabajo, trabajo. Okay, and you work when you're talking directly to a friend?
Trabajas.
Trabajas. Muy bien. Now, what about he or she works?
Trabaja.
Trabaja. So we've got trabajo, trabajas, trabaja. What about if we were talking about we work?
Trabajamos.
Muy bien. Trabajamos. Trabajamos. We work. And then if in Spain you were talking to a group of people and saying you work.
Trabajáis.
Trabajáis. Yeah, that is the form that's used in Spain and some other parts of the Spanish-speaking world, but mostly in Spain. If you were talking to a group of people in Latin America, what form would you use?
Trabajan.
That's it. It's the same form as you would use for they work. So trabajan can mean they work and also you plural work. Now, if you were thinking about the polite forms, there are two polite forms. In the singular, you would say usted.
Trabaja.
That's it. Usted trabaja. And ustedes, the plural form, would be?
Trabajan.
Muy bien. Let's run through the whole verb together then, the 6 forms, and see if you can work out which part is which. So, trabajo.
Trabajo.
Trabajas.
Trabajas.
Trabaja.
Trabaja.
Trabajamos.
Trabajamos.
Trabajáis.
Trabajáis.
Trabajan.
Trabajan.
Muy bien, muy bien. Okay, today we're going to use this same form with another verb. Let's take the verb desayunar.
Desayunar.
Now, desayunar means to have breakfast, and you may remember this from when we had breakfast en la terraza, on the terrace of the hotel back in lesson 33 or 34. El desayuno is the noun breakfast, and desayunar means to have breakfast, to breakfast, I suppose. So let's conjugate desayunar now. I'll say the parts in English and you see if you can come up with them in Spanish. So to begin with, I have breakfast.
Desayuno.
Desayuno. Yeah, you might wonder, it can't be desayuno because that's the same as the noun breakfast, but in actual fact it is el desayuno, but desayuno means I have breakfast, I breakfast. And you have breakfast in the informal?
Desayunas.
Desayunas, exacto. And he or she, or indeed you, polite, have breakfast?
Desayuna.
Desayuna. Muy bien. Now, we have breakfast would be?
Desayunamos.
Desayunamos. And you all have breakfast in the informal?
Desayunáis.
Desayunáis. Desayunáis. Try to get the ice. It's more an ice than an ace. Desayunáis.
Desayunáis.
Muy bien. And then they have breakfast.
Desayunan.
Desayunan. And good, because you got all the stress right in each one of those. Desayuno, desayunas, desayuna, desayunamos, desayunáis, desayunan. Okay, so one thing that we've not covered a huge amount in Coffee Break Spanish is talking about time. Let's introduce a couple of time phrases just now so that we can talk a little about what we do in the day. So, for example, I could say, desayuno a las 7.
Desayuno a las 7.
Okay, so what time is las 7?
Well, 7, so 7 o'clock.
Yeah, 7 o'clock. So, desayuno a las 7 means?
I have breakfast at 7 o'clock.
Exacto. So, a las 7 at 7 o'clock, a las 8 at 8 o'clock. We've come across phrases like this in the past. If I want to say then, I have breakfast at 7 o'clock, what would I say?
Desayuno a las 7.
Okay. Cara, I'm going to ask you, ¿a qué hora desayunas?
Desayuno a las 8.
Desayunas a las 8.
Sí.
Okay. Yo desayuno a las 7.
Y yo desayuno a las 8.
Okay. Now, desayuno in itself means I have breakfast. In that last example, I said, yo desayuno a las 7. I have breakfast at 7. I'm stressing I have breakfast at 7 because there's going to be a comparison. Cara said, y yo desayuno a las 8. So I have breakfast at 7, and Cara said the equivalent of, and I have breakfast at 8. So you can use the yo to emphasize I, but you don't need it. Desayuno means I have breakfast. So, let's talk a little more about the kind of things that we do during the day. And we'll add in some times as well. You might hear us mention y media. So, for example, desayuno a las 7:30. What would that mean?
7:30?
Yeah.
I have breakfast at 7:30.
Exacto. Desayuno a las 7:30. At 7:30, 7:30. Now, if you're used to studying German or some other languages, note that 7:30 means 7:30, okay? And if you do German, you'll understand why I'm saying that. If you don't do German, don't worry about it. Desayuno a las 7:30.
Desayuno a las 7:30.
Okay. If I say, salgo de la casa a las 8. Salgo de la casa a las 8. First of all, what time am I talking about?
At 8 o'clock.
Yeah, at 8 o'clock. A las 8 at 8 o'clock. Now this part, salgo de la casa. Do you recognize any words in there?
Casa? Does that not mean house?
Yeah, casa means house. So, salgo de la casa, if you've had breakfast before you salgo de la casa, Any ideas?
Leave the house?
Yeah, exactly. Salgo literally means I go out. I go out of the house, so I leave the house. Salgo de la casa a las 8.
I go out of the house at 8 o'clock.
Muy bien. So, moving on, I could say, llego al trabajo a las 9.
Llego al trabajo a las 9.
Okay, in this case, I'm talking about el trabajo. So, el trabajo is the noun.
Work.
Work, yeah. Llego comes from the verb llegar. And you may have come across it already in the word llegada. At the airport, for example. Llegada or llegadas are arrivals in an airport. So, llego is...
I arrive.
Yeah, and you know it's I arrive because it ends in O. Llego, it forms the same pattern as the other words that we've already looked at. So, llego al trabajo a las 9.
Luego al trabajo a las 9.
Now watch, it's llego, double L there. Llego.
Llego.
And that's different from luego, which is in the phrase hasta luego. It's a different word. Hasta luego, luego,
Luego.
and llego.
Llego.
Okay, so it's a totally different sound, but it's very easy to confuse the two. Llego,
Llego.
I arrive, and luego,
Luego.
which is more then or next when you're telling a story. Luego llegamos al trabajo or something like that. Llego al trabajo a las 9. So let's go through my daily routine so far. Desayuno a las 7.
Desayuno a las 7.
Salgo de la casa a las 8.
Salgo de la casa a las 8.
Llego al trabajo a las 9.
Llego al trabajo a las 9.
Muy bien. Cara, ¿a qué hora desayunas?
Desayuno a las 8.
¿Y a qué hora sales de la casa?
Salgo de la casa a las 8:30.
Muy bien. ¿Y a qué hora llegas a la universidad?
Llego a la universidad a las 9:30.
Muy bien. Excelente. Okay, let's continue. And let's talk about having lunch. Having lunch, to have lunch is comer. So I would say, como.
Como.
Como means I eat. So, como a la 1.
Como a la 1.
Now, como a la 1 would mean...
I eat lunch at 1 o'clock.
Exactly. Now, notice it's a la 1. It's not a las 1, because let's face it, there's only 1 hour at 1 o'clock. A las 2, a las 3, a las 4, but a la 1. A la 1.
A la 1.
Como a la 1.
Como a la 1.
Perfecto. Como a la 1. Cara, ¿a qué hora comes?
Como a la 1 también.
Muy bien, excelente. Ok, y dime una cosa. ¿A qué hora vuelves a casa? Now, there's something that's slightly different. Vuelves a casa. We're talking about what again? La casa.
The house?
The house. So, ¿a qué hora vuelves a casa? Any ideas as to what that might mean?
What time do you get back to the house?
Yeah. What time do you get home at? ¿A qué hora vuelves a casa? Vuelves comes from the verb volver, and volver means to return. So what time do you return home? It's quite a tricky word to say. Vuelves.
Vuelves.
And vuelves is you return, and I return would be?
Vuelvo.
Vuelvo, exactly. Try not to make the v sound in there too b. Try not to make it vuelvo, which sounds a little strange. Obviously, this is slightly different depending on where you are in the Spanish-speaking world, but if you can approximate it to something like vuelvo, quite a soft sound. Vuelvo a casa a las 5.
Vuelvo a casa a las 5.
Now, do you remember earlier in this lesson I mentioned a word that it sounded quite like llego, but it was a word that you would use when telling a story and it would mean then or next.
Luego.
Luego, exactly. So after getting back from the office or from university or wherever, you could say luego and give the next part of your story. And this next part of your story is going to be descanso.
Descanso.
Now, descanso is linked to the word cansado or cansada. What does that word mean?
Tired?
Yeah. So descanso means sort of to de-tire, to become less tired. It means to have a rest. I rest. And of course, we all rest in the evening. So, vuelvo a casa y luego descanso. Can you try repeating that, please?
Vuelvo a casa, luego descanso.
Muy bien. Vuelvo a casa y luego descanso. And then the last part of our day that we're going to talk about at the moment is ceno. Ceno from the verb cenar, meaning...
To have dinner?
Yes, exactly. Cenar means to have dinner and comer means to have lunch, although the verb comer can also be used generally to eat. So to eat something is comer algo. But when you're talking about meals, comer, to have lunch, cenar, to have dinner, to dine. So ceno a las 8.
Ceno a las 8.
Okay. What we're going to do now is go through the whole day, and then I'll ask Cara some questions about when she does all these things. So I'll tell you my day first, and you can see if you can work out what all of this means. And rather than stop after each sentence, I'm going to just do one long paragraph here and see how much you understand. Here goes. Desayuno a las 7:30. Salgo de la casa a las 8 y llego al trabajo a las 8:30, más o menos. Como a la 1 y vuelvo a casa a las 5:30. Luego descanso y ceno a las 8. Okay, have a listen again to this. Desayuno a las 7:30. Salgo de la casa a las 8 y llego al trabajo a las 8:30, más o menos. Como a la 1 y vuelvo a casa a las 5:30. Luego descanso y ceno a las 8. So I said, desayuno a las 7:30. Cara, what does that mean?
I have breakfast at 7:30.
Muy bien. Salgo a las 8.
I leave the house at 8 o'clock.
Llego al trabajo a las 8:30, más o menos.
I arrive at work at about 8:30.
Yeah, más o menos means more or less, so it's a useful phrase, especially when you're talking about time. Another way of saying that would be a eso de las 8:30. A eso de las 8:30.
A eso de las 8:30.
Around about 8:30. Muy bien. I then said, como a la 1
I have lunch at 1 o'clock.
y vuelvo a casa a las 5:30.
And I get back home at 5:30.
Luego descanso
Then I rest.
y ceno a las 8.
And I have dinner at 8 o'clock.
Okay, now Cara, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm going to ask you questions and you're going to tell me the times that you do these things. And if you want to include a más o menos or something like that, here and there, that would be good. ¿Vale?
Okay, vale.
Okay, entonces, ¿a qué hora desayunas?
Desayuno a las 8.
¿A qué hora sales de la casa?
Salgo de la casa a las 8:30.
Muy bien. ¿Y a qué hora llegas a la universidad?
Llego a la universidad a las 9:30.
Ok. Cara, ¿a qué hora comes?
Como a la 1.
Muy bien. ¿Y vuelves a casa a qué hora?
Vuelvo a casa a las 5:30. Más o menos.
¿Y luego?
Luego descanso. Or could you say descanso un poco?
You could indeed, yeah. Descanso un poco. Luego descanso un poco. ¿Y a qué hora cenas?
Ceno a las 7.
Perfecto. Now, one thing, ceno, of course, in Latin America would be ceno. Ceno a las 7.
Ceno a las 7.
Exacto. And all the other words that we've learned today really are pronounced pretty much the same across the Spanish-speaking world. Now, some of you may have noticed in there some interesting things about the questions that I was asking Cara. I said things like, ¿a qué hora desayunas? ¿A qué hora llegas al trabajo? And ¿a qué hora cenas, for example? But there were a few questions that didn't end in as. For example, ¿a qué hora sales de la casa? ¿A qué hora comes? ¿A qué hora vuelves? We're not going to go into these just now, but just be aware that it's not always the as form that you use for tú. So in this situation, it's sales, vuelves, comes, and we'll cover that more in a future podcast.
Coffee break español.
And that's all we have time for this week.
Now, there's some bad news and some good news for those of you who use the Coffee Break Spanish discussion forum this week.
Yes, there is indeed. As I reported in the news programme, which we released at the beginning of the week, we've had problem after problem with the forum because of spam attacks. I was spending several hours a week just cleaning up the forum, making it suitable for use.
So, it's all back to normal now?
Well, that's the bad news. I've actually decided to close down the existing Coffee Break Spanish forum because of the security problems. When we first started Coffee Break Spanish almost a year ago, I had set up the forum using a hosting service. This is basically what was leading to the spam because I had no control over spam filters. However, there is some good news. I've created a new forum over on the Radiolingua website, and this forum is actually open to listeners to all of our shows. This means that you'll be able to share your language learning ideas with learners of French, Italian and German, and possibly more languages in the future.
And if someone who happens to be listening to Coffee Break Spanish and happens to be, say, a native German speaker?
Yep, you've got it. A native German speaker can perhaps visit the Practice Your German forum and help out there. Likewise, native Spanish speakers who are learning French with Coffee Break French can help you out in the Spanish area, and that's already happening.
So, how do our listeners get involved in the new forum?
Well, unfortunately, it's not a straight transfer from one to the other. Listeners will need to create a new login on the new forum because it's not been possible to transfer the existing database over, basically because of the spam. It takes 2 minutes to create an account and you can choose your own username and password. It's perhaps worth pointing out, though, that if you're already a member of our premium service, then you should use the same username and password when you sign up to join the free discussion area. There's no point in having 2 different usernames and passwords.
Okay, sounds good. I'd better go and join myself.
Sí, tienes que participar en los foros, tú.
Any other news?
No, I think we'll leave it there this week.
Okay, thanks for listening, and once again, we hope you enjoyed the show.
Muchas gracias, como siempre, y adiós.
Hasta pronto!
Coffee break español.
This podcast was brought to you by the Radiolingua Network. Find out more at www.radiolingua.com.